Mama doesn't have much time. Please help us.
The call came at 10:17 p.m., and it would change everything. Jin-Woo Kang, the most feared mafia boss in Koreatown, had built his empire on one rule: feel nothing, trust no one, love nothing. His phone only rang for two reasons: business or blood. But tonight, the voice on the other end wasn't a rival or a lieutenant. It was a child. "Mama doesn't have much time. She's not moving right. Please help us." Jin-Woo's first instinct? Hang up. It had to be a trap. In his world, vulnerability meant death. But then the little girl said something that made his blood run cold. "I tried 911, but the bad man broke the phone. I just pressed redial. Please. She's making scary sounds. She can't breathe." In that moment, Jin-Woo heard something he hadn't heard in 15 years, an echo of a promise he thought he'd buried forever. A promise made to his dying 7-year-old sister as she struggled for her last breath. "Oppa, when you're big and strong, help the scared kids. Promise me." Now, a terrified little girl named Aria was begging a man who'd forgotten how to feel to save her mother's life. Jin-Woo stood up, walked out on 12 confused lieutenants, and raced across Los Angeles toward a stranger's apartment in Inglewood. He had 15 minutes, maybe less, before this child would watch her mother die. But here's what Jin-Woo didn't know yet. When he arrived, he wouldn't just be fighting to save a life. He'd be confronting the monster who destroyed her mother's inhaler and left them both to die. And that monster was about to come back. If you believe scared children deserve someone who'll answer their call, hit that subscribe button right now and like this video. This story is about keeping promises when the world says you should break them. Let's go. 12 men sat around the mahogany table, their faces illuminated by the glow of laptop screens displaying territory maps and revenue streams. Cigarette smoke curled toward the ceiling as they discussed expansion into Long Beach, their voices low and measured. Nobody raised their voice in Jin-Woo's presence. Nobody dared. Jin-Woo leaned back in his leather chair, his dark eyes scanning the faces before him with the cold precision of a predator assessing prey. His tailored black suit was immaculate, his shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal the edge of an intricate dragon tattoo winding up his neck. At 32, he was the youngest boss in the Korean underworld of Los Angeles, and the most feared. His phone never rang with personal calls, only business, only blood. When it vibrated on the glass desk, the room fell silent. Jin-Woo glanced at the screen. Unknown number. His jaw tightened as he answered, his voice carrying the temperature of ice. "Hello? Please." The voice on the other end was small, trembling, terrified. A child. "Mama doesn't have much time. She's not moving right. Please help us." Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. His lieutenants watched him, reading the shift in his expression. Wrong number. Had to be. Or worse, a trap. In his world, vulnerability was a weapon, and compassion was a death sentence. "Kid, you've got the wrong... I tried 911, but the bad man broke the phone." The girl was crying now, her words tumbling out in desperate, breathless panic. "I just pressed redial on Mama's phone. Please. She's making scary sounds. She can't breathe." Something in that voice, the raw, unfiltered terror of a child watching her mother die, pierced through 15 years of carefully constructed armor. Jin-Woo's hand tightened around the phone. His second-in-command, Dae-jung, leaned forward. "Boss, what is it?" Jin-Woo ignored him. "Where are you?" he demanded into the phone, his voice sharp but no longer cold. I don't know the address, but Mama said we live on Crenshaw, in Inglewood. There's a big tree outside and the apartment number is 2B. Please come. She's turning blue." The girl's voice cracked on the last word, dissolving into sobs. Jin-Woo stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the hardwood floor. His lieutenants froze mid-conversation, confusion rippling through the room. Crenshaw and what? Jin-Woo's mind was already calculating routes, distances, traffic patterns. I see a sign from the window. It says, MLK Boulevard? Stay on the line. Jin-Woo was already moving toward the door, grabbing his keys from the desk. What's your name? Aria, the child whispered. Please hurry. Mama's not talking anymore. Daijung rose from his seat, alarm flashing across his face. Boss, where are you going? We're in the middle of— I have to go, Jin-Woo said, his tone brooking no argument. Go? Go where? This could be a setup, a trap to get you alone. Jin-Woo paused at the door, his hand on the frame. For a moment, the feared Mafia boss looked at his assembled crew, men who had killed for him, who would die for him, men who had never seen him leave a meeting for anything less than war. Aria, he said into the phone, his voice steady despite the unfamiliar urgency building in his chest. I'm coming. Stay with me. Keep talking to me. Okay, she whimpered. Okay. I'm scared. I know, but I'm on my way. Jin-Woo pushed through the door and disappeared into the hallway, leaving 12 bewildered men staring at his empty chair. As his footsteps echoed down the corridor, Dae-jung exchanged glances with the others. What the hell just happened? Nobody had an answer. Jin-Woo burst through the building's exit into the cool Los Angeles night, his phone pressed to his ear as he sprinted toward his black Mercedes. The city lights blurred around him, neon signs in Korean, the distant hum of traffic, the smell of barbecue from late-night restaurants. Aria, I need you to do something for me, he said, sliding into the driver's seat and jamming the key into the ignition. The engine roared to life. Can you unlock the front door? Just turn the lock. Can you do that? I'm scared to leave Mama. I know, but I need to get inside when I arrive. I'm going to help her, but you need to unlock the door. Can you be brave for me? A pause, then softly. Okay, I'll try. Good girl. Jin-Woo tore out of the parking structure, his tires squealing against the concrete. As he merged onto the freeway, weaving through late-night traffic with practiced precision, something twisted in his chest, an emotion he hadn't felt in over a decade. Fear. Not for himself, for them. The child's desperate plea had awakened something he thought he'd buried with Min-seo, something he'd sworn to forget. But as the city lights streaked past his windows and Aria's frightened breathing filled the car, Jin-Woo realized with cold clarity that some promises could never truly die. They only waited in the dark, patient as ghosts, until the moment they demanded to be kept. The Mercedes sliced through the night, weaving between slower cars on the 10 freeway. Jin-Woo's knuckles were white against the steering wheel, his foot heavy on the accelerator. Aria's frightened breathing still filled the car through the phone's speaker. Are you still there? She whispered. I'm here. I'm 15 minutes away. How's your mama? She's still not talking, but her chest is moving. A little bit. Good. That's good, Aria. Keep watching her. 15 minutes. Jin-Woo changed lanes aggressively, cutting off a taxi. The driver's horn blared behind him, but the sound barely registered. All he could hear was Aria's voice, small, terrified, brave, and beneath it, an echo from 15 years ago. Seoul, 15 years ago. The memory crashed over him like a wave, pulling him under even as his hands maintained their grip on the present. He was 17 again, Jin-Woo Park, not the feared Mafia boss, but a skinny teenager with dreams of studying engineering. Their apartment in Dongdaemun was small, the walls thin enough to hear everything. That night, he'd been studying for university entrance exams when his father came home. The smell of soju had preceded him through the door. Jin-Woo had learned to read the signs, the heavy footsteps, the slurred cursing, the way their mother's voice would rise in panic. Min-seo, only 7 years old, had been sitting at the kitchen table coloring, her inhaler resting beside her colored pencils. She always kept it close. Severe asthma, the doctors had said. One bad attack without treatment could be fatal. Get out, Jin-Woo had whispered to his sister, but it was already too late. The fight erupted like a summer storm, sudden, violent, inevitable. Their father's rage was a living thing, feeding on their mother's attempts to calm him. Furniture overturned, glass shattered, and then their father's hand had swept across the kitchen table, sending everything crashing to the floor, including Min-seo's inhaler. The sound of plastic splintering against tile might as well have been a gunshot. Jin-Woo had scrambled for the pieces, his fingers trembling, but the device was destroyed, crushed under his father's boot in his blind, drunken fury. Min-seo's breathing had already begun to change, her small chest working too hard, her lips taking on a bluish tinge. "Call an ambulance!" Jin-Woo had screamed at his mother, already gathering Min-seo in his arms, but the phone was broken too, another casualty of his father's rage. He'd run. Through the apartment complex, down 5 flights of stairs because the elevator was too slow, Min-seo growing heavier in his arms with each gasping breath. A neighbor finally called for help. The ambulance came with sirens wailing, paramedics moving with practiced efficiency. But Seoul traffic was unforgiving, and Min-seo's small body was already shutting down. In the hospital, under fluorescent lights that made everything look like a nightmare, Min-seo had reached for his hand. Her fingers were so cold. "Oppa," she'd whispered, the word barely audible through the oxygen mask. "Promise me something." "Anything," Jin-Woo had said, tears streaming down his face. "Anything, Min-seo. When you're big and strong." She'd struggled for breath, each word a battle. "Help the scared kids, the ones like me. Promise me." "I promise," he'd choked out. "I promise, I promise, I promise." Min-seo had smiled then, a small, peaceful expression that didn't belong on a dying child's face. "Good. I'll wait for you in heaven, Oppa. Don't be late." She was gone before dawn. The memory released Jin-Woo abruptly, depositing him back in the Mercedes, back on the freeway, back in a life he'd built from rage and grief. He'd left Korea 3 months after Min-seo's funeral, unable to look at his parents, unable to breathe in a city that smelled like failure. America had seemed like escape, but he'd brought his demons with him. The criminal underworld had welcomed him. Violence came naturally when you'd already lost everything. Jin-Woo Park had died with his sister, and Jin-Woo Kang had been born in the ashes, cold, calculating, untouchable. A man who felt nothing because feeling meant remembering, and remembering meant drowning. He'd built an empire on the principle that caring was weakness. Trust no one, love nothing, feel nothing. Until tonight. Until a terrified little girl had dialed a wrong number and said words that sounded too much like Min-seo's last gasps for air. "Aria," Jin-Woo said, his voice rougher than he intended. "I'm almost there. Your mama is going to be okay. I promise you." The words tasted like ash and redemption. For 15 years, he'd been running from a promise made to a dying 7-year-old girl. For 15 years, he'd convinced himself that Jin-Woo Park was dead, that the promise died with him. But promises, Jin-Woo realized as he took the Inglewood exit at dangerous speed, were like ghosts. They waited in the dark, patient and inexorable, until the moment they demanded to be kept. Tonight, 15 years too late, Jin-Woo Kang was finally going to keep his word. If you stand against men who destroy what keeps people alive, whether it's an inhaler or someone's hope, drop a like on this video, hit the subscribe button. Don't let cowards like Jin-Woo's father or Travis win. Engagement matters. Jin-Woo took the exit onto Crenshaw Boulevard, his eyes scanning the street signs. The neighborhoods here were different from Koreatown, worn apartment buildings with peeling paint, chain-link fences, streetlights that flickered and died. He could see MLK Boulevard ahead. "Aria, I'm close now. Tell me what happened. Why can't your mama breathe?" There was a pause, filled only with the sound of the child's ragged breathing. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. She has asthma, like really bad asthma. She needs her inhaler, but Travis broke it. Jin-Woo's jaw clenched. Travis, is that the bad man? Yes, he's Mama's boyfriend. He got really mad tonight because dinner wasn't ready when he got home. Mama was trying to explain that she had to work late, but he started yelling. Then he started throwing things. Jin-Woo's hands tightened on the wheel. The story was sickeningly familiar. Different country, different language, same violence. Where is Travis now? He left. He broke Mama's inhaler and then he just left. He said she was being dramatic. But she's not. She really can't breathe. I know, sweetheart. I believe you. Jin-Woo spotted the apartment complex, a 3-story building with a large tree out front, just as Aria had described. He jerked the Mercedes into a parking spot. Aria, I'm here. I'm in the parking lot. But I need you to do something for me first, okay? Okay. Is your mama lying down? Yes, on the floor. Good. I need you to make sure she's on her side, not on her back. Can you do that? Gently push her shoulders so she rolls toward you. He heard shuffling, small grunts of effort. Like this? Perfect. That's perfect. Now I'm coming up. You unlocked the door like I asked? Yes. Apartment 2B. Jin-Woo was already out of the car, taking the exterior stairs 2 at a time. The building was exactly as he'd imagined. Cracked concrete, flickering lights, the smell of cooking oil and desperation hanging in the air. Second floor. He found 2B at the end of the hallway. I'm right outside, Aria. I'm coming in now. He pushed the door open slowly, not wanting to frighten the child more than she already was. The apartment was small, a cramped living room with a sagging couch, a kitchenette visible beyond. And there, on the threadbare carpet, a woman lay on her side, her chest heaving in desperate, shallow gasps. Her lips had a blue tinge that Jin-Woo recognized with a sickening jolt of memory. Beside her knelt a little girl in a pink floral nightgown, her long brown hair tangled, her face streaked with tears. She looked up at Jin-Woo with wide, terrified eyes. You came, she whispered. Jin-Woo crossed the room in 3 strides, already pulling out his phone to call his private doctor. But first, he knelt beside the woman, Celeste, and checked her pulse. Rapid and thready, but present. Her breathing was labored, wheezing, each inhale a battle. Aria, where's the broken inhaler? The little girl pointed to the corner where pieces of plastic and metal lay scattered, deliberately destroyed, smashed with enough force to ensure it couldn't be used. Jin-Woo felt rage kindle in his chest, cold and familiar. He dialed Dr. Hannah Park's number. She answered on the second ring. I need you at an address in Inglewood. Now, severe asthma attack, no inhaler available. Patient is mid-30s, female, breathing is severely compromised. He rattled off the address. How fast can you get here? 15 minutes. Keep her airway open and monitor her breathing. I'm bringing emergency equipment. Jin-Woo ended the call and turned his attention back to Celeste. Her eyes were half open, unfocused, her body fighting for oxygen. He positioned her more carefully, tilting her head back slightly to open her airway, his movements sure despite the urgency. Is Mama going to die? Aria's voice was small, broken. Jin-Woo looked at the child, really looked at her. She was clutching a worn stuffed rabbit, her knuckles white. Her eyes held a terror no child should ever know, the kind of fear that came from watching a parent slip away while feeling utterly powerless, just like he had been. No, Jin-Woo said firmly. She's not going to die. I promise you, Aria. I'm going to make sure she's okay. The little girl's lower lip trembled. That's my name, Aria, but I didn't tell you that yet. Jin-Woo paused, realizing she was right. You told me on the phone, remember? When I was driving here. Oh. She wiped her nose with the back of her hand. Mama named me Aria. It means air because she says I'm her breath. She says I'm the reason she breathes. The words hit Jin-Woo like a physical blow. The parallel was too cruel, too perfect. A mother with asthma, a child whose name meant air, a destroyed inhaler, and a man too late to save his sister, but maybe, just maybe, not too late to save someone else's. "That's a beautiful name," Jin-Woo said quietly, his voice rougher than he intended. He turned back to Celeste, monitoring her breathing, counting the seconds between each labored inhale. Aria moved closer, still clutching her rabbit. "Who are you? Are you a doctor?" "No, just someone who—" Jin-Woo hesitated. "Someone who understands what it's like to be scared." "You don't look scared." Jin-Woo glanced at her, this brave little girl who'd had the presence of mind to call for help when the adult in her life had failed her completely. "I'm terrified," he admitted, "but being scared doesn't mean you stop trying to help. Your sister—" He caught himself. "Someone I loved taught me that." Aria nodded solemnly, as if she understood something beyond her years. Then she reached out and placed her small hand on Jin-Woo's arm. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. "I was so scared no one would." Jin-Woo looked down at her hand, so small, so trusting, and felt something crack inside the walls he'd spent 15 years building. "I'll always come," he said, and realized with startling clarity that he meant it. Jin-Woo kept his fingers on Celeste's pulse, counting the beats, feeling the weakness in each flutter. Her chest rose and fell in desperate, inadequate gasps. The blue tinge on her lips was spreading, creeping across her face like frost on glass. He'd seen this before, the body shutting down, oxygen starvation claiming victory cell by cell. "Aria, I need you to get me a clean towel. Can you do that?" The little girl nodded and scrambled toward the bathroom, her stuffed rabbit abandoned on the floor. Jin-Woo used the moment to assess the situation with cold precision. Celeste's condition was deteriorating rapidly. Dr. Park was still 12, maybe 13 minutes away. That might be too long. In his world, the world of violence and territory wars, Jin-Woo had learned things most people never needed to know: how to stop bleeding with a belt and duct tape, how to recognize a punctured lung by the sound of breathing, how to keep someone alive when death was reaching for them with greedy hands. He'd never wanted to use those skills for something good, but tonight wasn't about want. Aria returned with a towel, her eyes locked on her mother's face. "Is she getting worse?" "She's fighting," Jin-Woo said, taking the towel and folding it to place under Celeste's head. "And so am I." He tilted Celeste's head back further, checking her airway. No obstruction, but her breathing was becoming more labored, each inhale a wet, rattling wheeze. Her body was exhausting itself trying to pull oxygen through airways that had narrowed to nearly nothing. Jin-Woo made a decision. "Aria, I need you to look away for a minute, okay? Turn around and count to 100. Can you do that for me?" "But Mama—" "I'm going to help her breathe, but I need you to count. Start now." Aria turned toward the wall, her small voice beginning to count. 1, 2, 3. Jin-Woo positioned himself beside Celeste, tilting her chin up to fully open her airway. He pinched her nose, sealed his mouth over hers, and gave a slow, steady breath. Her chest rose slightly, not enough, but something. He waited, let her try to exhale, then gave another breath. 15, 16, 17. Another breath, another. Jin-Woo fell into a rhythm, his focus absolute. In this moment, Celeste Mitchell wasn't a stranger. She was Min-seo. She was every person who'd ever struggled for air, while someone who should have protected them stood by and did nothing. He felt Celeste's chest rise more substantially under his hand. Her body was responding, the rescue breathing buying time, forcing oxygen into her starving lungs. 43, 44. Jin-Woo gave another breath, and this time Celeste's body convulsed slightly. A cough, weak but present. Her eyes fluttered. "That's it," Jin-Woo muttered. "Come on, Fight. He continued the pattern, breath after breath, until finally, Celeste's breathing found a rhythm of its own, still labored, still dangerous, but no longer on the immediate edge of failure. The blue was receding from her lips, replaced by a sickly pale that was still infinitely better than the alternative. Jin-Woo sat back on his heels, his heart pounding. His hands were shaking. When had they started shaking? 100, Aria whispered, turning around. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face streaked with fresh tears. Is Mama? She's breathing better. She's going to make it until the doctor gets here. Aria's face crumpled with relief. She moved to kneel beside her mother again, taking Celeste's hand in both of hers. Mama, can you hear me? Someone came to help. He's here. Celeste's eyes opened slightly, unfocused and confused, but aware. She tried to speak, but only a wheeze emerged. Don't talk, Jin-Woo said firmly. Save your strength. The doctor is coming. Celeste's gaze shifted to him, taking in his face, the tattoos visible on his neck, the expensive suit now wrinkled and disheveled from kneeling on her floor. Confusion flickered in her eyes. Who was this man? Why was he in her apartment? But she was too weak to ask, too focused on the simple act of breathing. Aria looked up at Jin-Woo, her expression a mixture of awe and curiosity. In the dim light of the apartment, his tattoos seemed to move, the dragon on his neck coiling with each breath he took. His hands, marked with geometric patterns across the knuckles, were gentle as he monitored Celeste's pulse. Who are you? Aria whispered. Really? Jin-Woo met her gaze. This child who'd called a stranger in desperation and somehow found the one person who understood her terror completely. He could lie. Should lie, give her a simple answer that would satisfy a 7-year-old's curiosity. Instead, he told her the truth. Someone who understands what it's like to be scared, he said quietly. Someone who knows what it feels like to watch someone you love struggle to breathe and feel helpless to stop it. Aria processed this, her young face serious. Did they die? The person you loved? The question cut through Jin-Woo like a blade. He thought of Min-seo, her small hand in his, her final smile before the light left her eyes. Yes, he said. She did. I'm sorry. Aria's voice was soft, sincere. That must have made you very sad. It did? Is that why you came? Because you didn't want me to be sad like you? Jin-Woo felt something shift in his chest, like ice cracking after a long winter. This child saw through him with a clarity that was almost painful. Yes, he admitted. That's why I came. Aria nodded, then did something Jin-Woo didn't expect. She reached out and took his hand, his tattooed, blood-stained hand that had hurt so many people, and held it like it was the most natural thing in the world. Thank you, she said, for not letting my mama die. For not letting me be alone. Jin-Woo looked down at her small fingers wrapped around his, and for the first time in 15 years, he felt the weight of his promise to Min-seo lift slightly. Outside, the sound of rapid footsteps echoed up the stairs. Dr. Park had arrived. Comment, promises matter if you believe in showing up for people who have no one else. If you're the kind of person who'd answer that call, let me know in the comments below. I want to know you're out there. Dr. Hannah Park burst through the door with the efficiency of someone accustomed to emergencies. She was a petite woman in her 40s, her medical bag already open, her eyes assessing the situation in seconds. She'd been Jin-Woo's private physician for 5 years, asking no questions about the knife wounds and bullet grazes she treated in the middle of the night. How long has she been in distress? Dr. Park asked, kneeling beside Celeste. At least 30 minutes, maybe longer, Jin-Woo said, stepping back to give her room. Severe asthma attack. Inhaler was destroyed. I've been administering rescue breathing for the past 8 minutes. Dr. Park pulled out a portable nebulizer and oxygen mask, working with practiced speed. You probably saved her life. She glanced at Aria, her expression softening. Sweetheart, I'm a doctor. I'm going to help your mama feel better, okay? Aria nodded, pressing closer to Jin-Woo's side. He found his hand automatically moving to her shoulder, a gesture of protection that felt foreign and natural all at once. Dr. Park fitted the oxygen mask over Celeste's face, and within seconds, the woman's breathing began to ease. The terrible wheezing quieted. Color started returning to her cheeks. She was going to survive. Jin-Woo released a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. That's when the door slammed open. Travis Donovan stumbled into the apartment, his eyes bloodshot, his gait unsteady. He reeked of whiskey and stale cigarettes. He was a big man, maybe 6'2", broad-shouldered, wearing a stained work shirt and jeans. The kind of man who used his size to intimidate. He froze when he saw the scene before him, Celeste on the floor with a stranger attending to her, Aria standing beside a man in an expensive suit, the apartment full of people who had no business being there. "What the hell?" Travis's voice was slurred but aggressive. "Who the hell are you people? This is my house." Dr. Park didn't even look up. "You need to leave, now." "Leave? Leave?" Travis's face flushed red. "You don't tell me what to do in my own damn house." His eyes fixed on Celeste. "What's wrong with you now, baby? Still being dramatic about that inhaler?" He took a step forward, toward Celeste and Aria. It was a mistake. Jin-Woo moved between them, his body language shifting in a way that made Dr. Park glance up sharply. She'd seen Jin-Woo hurt, seen him angry, but she'd never seen this, the cold, predatory focus of a man who'd built an empire on violence. "You need to step outside," Jin-Woo said quietly. His voice carried no emotion, which somehow made it more terrifying. Travis finally seemed to register Jin-Woo's presence, really register it. He saw the tattoos creeping up the neck, the expensive suit that didn't match this neighborhood, the eyes that held no warmth, no fear, no hesitation. Something in Travis's alcohol-soaked brain recognized danger, but the whiskey made him stupid. "Who the hell are you? Her new boyfriend?" Travis laughed, but it sounded forced. "That bitch moves fast, doesn't she? Well, let me tell you something, friend." He reached out to shove Jin-Woo aside. Jin-Woo caught his wrist mid-motion, his grip like iron. Travis's face went from aggressive to shocked in an instant. "Aria," Jin-Woo said calmly, not taking his eyes off Travis. "Go into your bedroom. Close the door. Don't come out until I tell you. But now." Something in his tone brooked no argument. Aria ran to her room, the door clicking shut behind her. Jin-Woo looked at Dr. Park. "Take care of Celeste. I'll be right back." Then he twisted Travis's wrist in a way that made the bigger man gasp in pain and half-walked him out of the apartment. The door swung shut behind them. The hallway was empty, dimly lit, the sound of a television bleeding through thin walls. Travis tried to pull away, tried to throw a punch, but Jin-Woo was faster, more efficient. He slammed Travis against the wall hard enough to knock the breath from his lungs. "Listen very carefully," Jin-Woo said, his voice still eerily calm. "Because I'm only going to say this once." Travis struggled, his face contorted with rage and fear. "You can't..." Jin-Woo's hand moved to Travis's throat, not squeezing, just resting there. A promise. Travis went still. "You destroyed that woman's inhaler and left her to die. You left a 7-year-old child alone to watch her mother suffocate. Do you understand what you did?" "I didn't. It wasn't. She was being dramatic." Jin-Woo's grip tightened slightly. "She was dying. If I hadn't arrived when I did, Aria would be an orphan right now, and you would be a murderer." Travis's eyes widened as the reality of what might have happened began to penetrate his alcohol-fogged brain. "Here's what's going to happen," Jin-Woo continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "You're going to leave Los Angeles, Tonight, you're going to disappear so completely that Celeste and Aria never hear your name again. You won't call, you won't write, you won't drive past their apartment hoping for a glimpse. You will vanish. You can't make me. Jin-Woo leaned closer, and Travis saw something in his eyes that made his bladder clench. If you come back, if you even think about them, I won't just kill you. That would be mercy. I'll make sure everyone you've ever known, your family, your friends, your co-workers, sees exactly what kind of monster you are before you die. I'll show them pictures of what you did tonight. I'll make them watch what happens to men like you in my world. And then, when you're begging for death, when there's nothing left of you but pain and regret, I'll finally let you go. Travis's face had gone white. Who are you? I'm the consequence you didn't think existed. Jin-Woo released him, stepping back. You have 1 hour to pack and leave. If you're still in this city by morning, you'll find out exactly what I'm capable of. Do you understand? Travis nodded frantically, his earlier bravado completely evaporated. Good. Now get out of my sight. Travis ran, literally ran down the stairs, stumbling in his haste, never looking back. Jin-Woo stood in the hallway for a moment, breathing slowly, letting the cold fury settle back into the controlled calm he usually maintained. Then he turned and walked back into the apartment. Dr. Park looked up from where she was monitoring Celeste's vitals. She raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Jin-Woo knocked softly on Aria's bedroom door. It's safe now. You can come out. The door opened slowly, and Aria peeked out, her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. Is the bad man gone? Yes, Jin-Woo said. He's never coming back. Dr. Park worked in focused silence, her hands steady as she adjusted the oxygen flow and administered medication through the nebulizer. Celeste's breathing had stabilized, each inhale and exhale finding a more natural rhythm. The blue tinge had completely faded from her lips, replaced by a healthy pink. Her eyes were clearer now, aware, tracking the doctor's movements with exhausted gratitude. She'll be fine, Dr. Park said, glancing at Jin-Woo. But she needs to rest, and she needs a new inhaler immediately. I'll write a prescription and have it filled tonight. She looked at Celeste directly. You almost died, Ms. Mitchell. If this man hadn't arrived when he did. Celeste's eyes filled with tears. She tried to speak, but Dr. Park shook her head. Save your voice. Just rest. Jin-Woo stood by the window, his silhouette dark against the dim glow of streetlights. He'd called his second-in-command 20 minutes ago with brief instructions. Find Travis Donovan, make sure he leaves the city, monitor him until he crosses state lines. Dae-jung had asked no questions. He knew better. Aria emerged fully from her bedroom, the stuffed rabbit clutched against her chest. She walked slowly toward Jin-Woo, her bare feet silent on the worn carpet. When she reached him, she looked up with those two old eyes, studying his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Are you an angel? She whispered. The question hit Jin-Woo harder than any punch he'd ever taken. An angel. This child, who'd watched him drag a man out of her apartment with cold efficiency, who'd seen the tattoos and the expensive suit and the controlled violence in his movements, thought he might be an angel. Jin-Woo knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. Up close, he could see the tear tracks on her cheeks, the exhaustion in the set of her small shoulders, the lingering fear that hadn't quite left her eyes. No, sweetheart, he said quietly. I'm not an angel. But you saved Mama. You came when I called. You made the bad man go away. Jin-Woo reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the gesture surprisingly natural. I'm just someone who knew a brave little girl once. She was about your age. She was scared, and I couldn't help her. But before she died, she made me promise something. What did she promise? She made me promise to help kids like you. Kids who are scared and alone. Kids who need someone to come when they call. Aria processed this, her young face solemn. What was her name? Min-seo. It means clear and auspicious in Korean. That's pretty. Aria shifted her rabbit to one arm and reached out, taking Jin-Woo's hand again. I'm sorry she died. But I think she'd be happy you kept your promise. Something cracked in Jin-Woo's chest, something that had been frozen for 15 years. He looked down at this child's hand in his and realized that for the first time since Min-seo's death, the weight of his failure felt lighter. I think she would be too, he said softly. 3 months later, the morning sun streamed through clean windows in a second-floor apartment in a quiet neighborhood in Pasadena. The building was well-maintained, with security cameras and a responsive landlord who happened to be a shell company owned by Jin-Woo Kang. Aria sat at the kitchen table, carefully copying Korean characters onto lined paper. Her tongue stuck out slightly in concentration, her new stuffed rabbit, a gift, propped up beside her to watch. Like this, Uncle Jin? Jin-Woo leaned over her shoulder, examining her work. Almost. The stroke goes down, then across. Try again. She erased carefully and tried once more. This time, the character was perfect. Good, Jin-Woo said, and was rewarded with a brilliant smile. Celeste emerged from the kitchen carrying a tray of tea and the Korean pastries Jin-Woo had brought. Honey-filled hoteok from the best bakery in Koreatown. She looked different now, healthier, the shadows gone from under her eyes, her movements no longer carrying the tension of someone waiting for violence. You spoil her, Celeste said, but her smile was warm. She's a good student, Jin-Woo replied. It had taken Celeste 3 weeks to stop asking questions. Who was he really? Why was he helping them? What did he want in return? Jin-Woo had given her partial truths. He was a businessman. He'd made a promise to his sister. He wanted to help. Eventually, she'd stopped asking and simply accepted the gift of safety he'd given them. The apartment was paid for through an anonymous trust fund that also covered Aria's future education, Celeste's medical needs, and a stipend that allowed Celeste to work fewer hours at her nursing job. On paper, the money came from a charity foundation. In reality, it came from Jin-Woo's empire, profits from businesses both legal and otherwise, redirected toward redemption. Uncle Jin, will you tell me another story about Min-seo? Aria asked, finishing her character practice. Jin-Woo settled into the chair across from her. What do you want to know? Did she like pastries too? She loved them, especially bunjapang, fish-shaped pastries filled with sweet red bean paste. She would eat 3 at a time if our mother let her. Aria giggled. 3? That's so many. She was small but fierce, Jin-Woo said, and for once, the memory didn't bring only pain. Like you. Every other Sunday, Jin-Woo came. He brought pastries, taught Aria Korean words and simple phrases, told stories about his sister, and checked on Celeste's health. He never stayed more than a few hours, never intruded on their lives beyond these visits. But in those few hours, he was simply Uncle Jin, not the feared Mafia boss who controlled territories from Koreatown to Long Beach, not the man whose name made criminals look over their shoulders. Just someone keeping a promise. His empire still functioned with ruthless efficiency. His reputation remained intact. But now, alongside the violence and control, there was something else. A network he'd established personally, funded by his own resources, that helped domestic violence victims escape safely. Safe houses, legal assistance, new identities when necessary. Dae-jung had asked once, in private, why the boss was suddenly interested in charity work. Jin-Woo had simply replied, because some promises are worth more than profit. Now, watching Aria practice her Korean characters while Celeste hummed in the kitchen, Jin-Woo felt something he hadn't felt in 15 years. Peace. Not the absence of violence. He was still who he was, still built his power on fear and control. But a different kind of peace, born from finally honoring the dying wish of a 7-year-old girl who'd believed her big brother could be strong enough to help others. "Uncle Jin?" Aria looked up from her work. "When I grow up, I want to help people too, like you helped us." Jin-Woo met her earnest gaze and saw Min-seo's face superimposed over hers for just a moment. Two brave little girls connected across time by a promise finally kept. "Then I'll teach you," he said. "And together, we'll help others who are scared. We'll make sure they know someone will come when they call." Aria smiled, returning to her characters. Celeste caught Jin-Woo's eye from the kitchen and mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." Jin-Woo nodded once, then turned his attention back to Aria's lesson. Outside, his world of violence and territory wars continued. Inside this small apartment, in these stolen Sunday hours, Jin-Woo Kang had found his redemption. Not by abandoning his power, but by finally using it the way Min-seo had always believed he could. To protect the innocent, to answer desperate calls in the night, to be the person who comes when scared children need someone most. The Mafia boss had become a guardian, the monster had learned to be human again, and somewhere, Jin-Woo liked to believe, Min-seo was smiling. If you made it to the end, thank you for being here. This story is about broken people finding redemption by keeping the promises that matter most. If you believe everyone deserves someone who'll answer when they call for help, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if this story moved you, and comment below telling me where you're watching from. I want to know this message reached you. To everyone fighting to be better than their past, to everyone keeping promises when it's hard, to everyone protecting those who can't protect themselves, I see you. More stories like this are coming. Don't miss them.